Greetings. This is Black Light. We're going to go to this news station, which is showing a more accurate account of the woman shot and killed in her own home. We're going to have some comment a little later.
Put your hands up. Show me your hands up. I explained on the call that there wasn't any violence going on, any type of arguments going on. It was simply a concern for my neighbor. I'm still kind of broken and shocked. They tell me I shouldn't feel bad, but I feel bad because had I not called the police department, she would probably still be alive today. So I do feel a little weight on me for that, making that call.
Our young men are being killed. But when our women are not safe, as men in our community, we are called to stand up and protect the women in our community. Right. And when our women are not safe, then it's going to get to a point that we can no longer be passive. There you go. At some point, we have to fight aggression with aggression. As pastors and Christians, yes, we're called to love. We're called to forgive. But we're not called to be fools. Right. And it's time out for you continue to kill the people in our neighborhood and expect us to be passive. So again, I'm with Bishop Kirkland. When I first got involved with this is what I said. What bothers me with us as a community is 2 or 3 weeks we'll be upset, we'll be angry, and then we'll go on with life. But what we're finding out, if we stop for 2 or 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks later, somebody else may be killed. So we got to stand up as a community and let them know that we're sick and tired of our young ladies being killed. We're sick and tired of our sons being killed. And the thing with this, you can't say she had a gun in her hand. It don't matter if she did, because in all actuality, if the Castle Doctrine could have stood in the Amber trial, then it could have stood in this one. She had the right to protect herself if she's in her own house. And if you're outside of my house, walking outside of my window, and there is a gun in my house, as a person that has property and is a rightful property owner, I have a right to protect myself. So I want to find out how you're going to twist this one, how you're going to turn this one to try and make it seem as though it's justified for you killing this lady in her house. And the next thing I would like to say to Chief Krause, Mayor Betsy Price, and all the city officials, we're not asking for a suspension. And I'm saying as a community, we're not asking for a suspension. We're asking for termination. We're not going to allow you to tell us he got suspended for 30 days and we applaud you and say, job well done. This person, whoever it is, male or female, does not need to be on the streets. Because if that was me and I killed somebody that was in their own house, me knowing from dealing with the system, y'all gonna put me in prison and put me in there for a long time. So we cannot allow this woman to do this or this man to do this, keep their job, and then not label them as what they are, and that is a murderer. That's right. So again, we're calling on our communities to understand, and I'm with Bishop. No, we're not here to sell our people out. No, we gonna fight hand, feet, tooth and nail for our communities. Because in all actuality, I think this is what people miss. We just like y'all. I don't care how many tables we go sit at. If they catch me at the wrong time in the wrong place, it could be Pastor Rodney McIntosh that get killed, just like they done this woman.
Now at this point, I want to bring Kevin conversation. He's been hearing from neighbors and also those faith leaders in the community we just heard from. Kevin, it seems that the anger has really just grown as we see the video and get more information about what happened here.
And it continues to grow with the relative silence from the Fort Worth Police Department. That's what's bothering folks the most right now. I want to give you a vantage point where we are right at this moment. We are at the side of the house. This is where the officers approached, walked along the side of this, which is actually one of the nicer houses in this neighborhood, walked through that fence into the backyard, and that's where that single shot was fired. What bothers the neighbors right now, and you're going to hear from more of them in a moment, is there are no police here right now. They have released a portion of that body cam video. They've released one photo of a gun inside that house after the fact. They've had a written press release, but that is it at this point. No news conference has been called. Fort Worth Police say they will not be talking anytime soon. So community leaders, for a number of reasons, including those, are incensed, and of course, they are making obvious comparisons to the death of Botham Jean in Dallas. This is part of what those community leaders had to say earlier today.
If the officer is at fault, then the officer must suffer the consequences, because you cannot continue to kill people and justify it because they're law enforcement.
So our concern is this. Number one is that as in Dallas in Botham Jean's case, police entering the house, this time the police took it a step further, and she was in her own place and shot and killed her. That is not only unacceptable, that's murder. The Fort Worth police murdered this woman. Don't paint this sister as no villain.
That's right.
If you do that, if you paint this sister as a villain, this city gonna have hell to pay. Don't paint this sister as no villain. They're the ones who murdered. They murdered her, and there's no excuse for it. That's it.
I call on the police department to be totally transparent, starting immediately, to not hide anything, to not withhold anything from the community of Fort Worth. We're tired of this, and it's going to stop.
And we're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and we're going to keep on talking about this until justice happens. We're crying out to the Lord. Our only recourse at this point is for God Almighty to hear our cry and come see about us.
And so, yes, community leaders have spoken out already today. We do expect more reaction here as the night goes on. But again, according to what the neighbors have told us, those officers approached with no lights, no sirens, parked around the corner and walked up to the house in the dark. So people want more answers. They want more words from the Fort Worth Police Department right now that they are not getting. And we'll continue to ask those questions as the night goes on and as this investigation gets underway.
Tatiana Jefferson! Tatiana Jefferson!
Eruption of outrage in Fort Worth after a police officer shot and killed a woman in her own home. What started as a candlelight vigil quickly turned into a protest with demonstrators marching through the streets. Now, this all started Saturday when officers responded to a man's call, worried there might be something wrong at his neighbor's home. But Tatiana Jefferson was just playing video games with her nephew when an officer fired at her. Now, we have a lot to get to, but let's start with Bradley Blackburn right outside the home. You heard from a passionate crowd tonight, but also police spoke for the first time today.
That's right, Chris. This has been emotional and it has been raw. This case is already drawing national attention, but it happened less than 48 hours ago inside the home behind me, where Tatiana Jefferson was inside when a Fort Worth police officer responded to that call, and she was shot and killed. Today, police told us that her 8-year-old nephew was in the room with her when the gun was fired, and the family returned to this house for the first time just a short time ago. Tonight, there was grief and outrage. Tatiana Jefferson's family coming back to the home where she was shot and killed by a Fort Worth police officer. The family's attorney, Lee Merritt.
Tatiana was the glue that held this family together. She was so in love with babysitting, caring for her mother, showing up and counseling her sisters, that when they lost her, they lost balance.
The members of the Fort Worth Police Department share your very real and valid concerns.
This afternoon, Fort Worth Police gave their first on-camera statement, confirming their officer never identified himself as police before he pulled the trigger.
Are they usually home at this time?
They're usually home, but they never had both of the front doors open.
Police also released the non-emergency call that brought them to Jefferson's home. The neighbor concerned lights were on, doors open, but making no claim of danger.
I mean, it's just not normal for them to have both the doors open this late that long.
Police say officers parked away from the home, and the body camera footage shows them searching around with flashlights, going in the backyard. Then the moment the officer spots Jefferson's figure in her own window.
Put your hands up! Show me your hands!
Slow it down, you can see her pull up the blinds. The officer pulls the trigger less than 2 seconds after his verbal commands.
The officer did not announce that he was a police officer prior to shooting. What the officer observed and why he did not announce police will be addressed as the investigation continues.
Police would not explain why their officer felt threatened, and they would not answer our question why they shared a picture of a gun found in Jefferson's home.
Fort Worth PD is not competent to investigate themselves criminally in this case.
And by the time
we stop being angry, there is another body that the police have put in the ground.
It's called for action.
We're working closely on this. It's a tragic situation.
Mayor Betsy Price came to the vigil to listen, but quickly left, surrounded by a frustrated crowd. Emotions high after another life lost.
So we're going to have to start organizing ourselves, form block clubs, neighborhood watch, police ourselves, because when you call the police in, they're coming in guns blazing. They're going to shoot you, maim you. And we're just not equipped or organized enough or have enough unity. Last video, I said I was going to speak about pimps, hoes, and tricks, but it ties in with us being over here in America, but time is running out. Black people got to quit being in denial. Don't listen to those YouTubers. We're going to have to organize people. Unity is the key. Black power.